Nightline begins now with me, Muhammad Ahmad Hamdan. The top stories. National housing policy to be reviewed. And Malaysia can be successful if corruption curbed at all levels. Good morning. More people, especially in the B40 group, will be able to own homes by 2025 with the Madani framework. However, the Local Government Development Ministry, KPKT, stressed that the target could only be achieved with the cooperation of various parties. In a statement on Monday, the ministry said it is ready to review the national housing policy based on the Madani policy framework so that it can be translated into the value of well-being and balance for all Malaysians. Through the development of new policy and more organised planning, KPKT believes that the target of providing 500,000 affordable houses by 2025 will be successful, with the cooperation of all housing agencies at the federal, state and private developer levels. KPKT also said they are studying the national housing policy to look at the housing sector as a whole, especially in improving the implementation of affordable housing and the provision of public housing. The new national housing policy will also take into account the various needs of the people based on their culture, customs, religions and scenarios of the country's multi-racial society. The ministry stated that it would look into housing policies in various countries, particularly Singapore, which has succeeded in providing public housing to 80% of its eligible citizens, regardless of race. It also plans to hold a knowledge-sharing session with housing experts from Singapore to strengthen Malaysia's housing development strategy. Now, Malaysia has the potential to be a developed country in a short period of time if corruption and abuse of power are curbed at all levels. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim pointed out that the country can also be successful if the people are united and reject all forms of racial and religious bias. According to Datuk Seri Anwar, the Malaysia Madani concept adopted by the federal government under his leadership called on all Malaysians to accept religious and racial differences as a strength in uniting each other. He added that competing in the interests of race and religion would only instill hatred in the community. The Prime Minister also said that Malaysians must have the courage not only to reject the narrow understanding of racism, but also unethical practices. He also expressed disappointment over the action of some quarters who tried to legalize bribery for their own personal and political interests, as this would result in a corrupt society and the country incurring great losses.
Ini paham-paham yang boleh merugikan negara dan fahaman masyarakat. Sedekah sebagai amal jariah, okey. Tapi sedekah untuk dapat undi pilihan raya itu artinya corruption. Sebab itu saya tekankan negara ini mampu naik balik. Saya percaya dan yakin Malaysia punyai potensi yang cukup baik untuk diangkat semula sebagai negara maju di rantau kita. Syaratnya apa saudara? Hentikan sikap perangai sama ada pimpinan politik atau pejabat awam peringkat tinggi atau badan-badan penguasaan mesti dan wajib hentikan amalan rompakan kekayaan negara.
Datuk Seri Anwar said this in his speech at Pulau Pinang Chief Minister Chow Kon Yeow's Chinese New Year open house at the Spice Arena in Georgetown on Monday. The Prime Minister also praised the state government, which he deemed as successful in centralising economic development that goes hand in hand with social justice for the people, including the urban poor and B40 group. Some 3,000 guests attended the open house, including state leaders, private sectors and NGOs, as well as members of the public. At another event, Datuk Seri Anwar stressed that the unity government under his leadership will continue to focus on carrying out its responsibilities and trust, despite the antics of certain parties in disputing the policies being implemented. The Prime Minister stressed that the government leaders need to set a good example and stop actions that can destroy the country.
Siapa tak mahu kemudahan, saya pun mau. Tetapi kita juga tahu tanggungjawab, memikirkan rakyat ramai yang susah. Kemudian kita ambil kereta boleh Allah. Ya. Kemudian turun ke dalam negeri boleh tak setuju. Yang penting apa? Saya beritahu kepada menteri-menteri, saya beritahu kepada pejabat awam kanan, buat kuasa, ini pentadbiran kerajaan perpaduan tidak akan tolak ansur dengan rasuah tak kira.
He said this when speaking at a high tea session with the people at Lembah Makanan Bandar Perda in Bukit Mertajam. Also present were the Prime Minister's wife, Datuk Seri Dr. Wan Azizah Wan Ismail, and Pulau Pinang Deputy Chief Minister, Datuk Ahmad Zakiuddin Abdul Rahman. This was Datuk Seri Anwar's first trip back to the state after being sworn in as the Prime Minister on November 24th last year.
Siapa tak mahu kemudahan? Saya pun mahu.
Meanwhile, Datuk Seri Anwar expressed confidence that Pakatan Harapan will win back the Permatang Pau parliamentary seat in the next election. The PA chairman said he has never forgotten the voters in Permatang Pau for putting him on the path to become the country's 10th Prime Minister, despite having moved on to represent other constituencies.
Kita sabar, tumpu kerja, tumpu jaga dan bela nasib rakyat. Ini yang penting. Jadi saya masih yakin, walaupun orang kata Batang Pau, saya nak beritahu, saya masih yakin Batang Pau tetap jadi kubu gerakan reformasi.
Permatang Pau has long been considered as Datuk Seri Anwar's bastion, as he was the Member of Parliament for the seat for 6 terms since 1982. His wife, Datuk Seri Dr. Wan Azizah, and daughter, Nurul Izzah Anwar, have also served as its MPs. However, in the recent 15th general election, Nurul Izzah failed to defend the seat after a shocking loss to Perikatan Nasional candidate Muhammad Fawaz Muhammad Jan. Now, racial and cultural differences should not cause division among the people of this country. Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi said they should instead be crucial elements in uniting the people.
Kepelbagaian dalam satu kesatuan bangsa Malaysia harus dapat diwujudkan dan semangat perpaduan ini mesti terjalin. Semua bangsa hendaklah memahami budaya yang berbeza, agama yang berbeza, bahasa yang berbeza, dan cara menyantuni ini akan melahirkan masyarakat yang benar-benar berpadu.
Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid said this in his speech at a Chinese New Year open house hosted by his Chinese foster family in Hutan Melintang, Perak on Monday. The Deputy Prime Minister, who is also Bagan Datuk Member of Parliament, said the Year of the Rabbit celebration this year was seen to be more lively than previous years after the previous restrictions and movement control caused by the COVID-19 pandemic threat have been lifted. About 1,000 people from various races also attended the open house event. The Malaysian Meteorological Department, Met Malaysia, has raised the warning level of continuous rain forecast in several areas in Sabah until Wednesday to danger. In a statement on Monday, it said the danger level warning of continuous heavy rain is expected in Telupit, Kinabatangan, Beluran, Sandakan, Pitas and Kudat. Met Malaysia also issued a bad level continuous rain warning in Tambunan, West Coast, Lahad Datu and Kota Marudu areas, and an alert level warning of continuous rain warning in Tongot. Apart from that, continuous rain with bad and alert level warning is also expected till Wednesday in several areas in Pahang, Johor as well as Sarawak. Meanwhile, the National Disaster Management Agency, NADMA, has ordered the state and district disaster management committees to be activated to increase preparedness for possible floods in high-risk areas. In a statement, the agency also ordered for the temporary evacuation transfer centres in the flood-prone areas to be ready for operations and called upon residents to obey the authorities' instructions and evacuate early if advised to do so. The Department of Minerals and Geosciences Malaysia has also warned residents in landslide hotspot areas to be aware of signs or threat of landslides in their respective areas. Earlier, the National Flood Forecasting and Warning Centre had issued an early alert over the possibility of flash floods in 6 states, namely Johor, Melaka, Pahang, Selangor, Negeri Sembilan and Sarawak. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim will be in Brunei for a 2-day official visit starting Tuesday. Aside from strengthening bilateral relations, the visit will also explore potential investment opportunities between Malaysia and Brunei. Foreign Minister Datuk Seri Zamri Abdul Kadir said Datuk Seri Anwar is expected to arrive at Brunei International Airport at 3:30 p.m. on Tuesday. The Prime Minister will then attend a dinner with the Malaysian diaspora at the Malaysian High Commission in Bandar Seri Begawan in the evening. On the second day of the visit, Datuk Seri Anwar is scheduled to have an audience with Sultan of Brunei, Sultan Hassan Al Bolkiah, at Istana Nurul Iman for a 4-eyed meeting to assess the progress of ongoing cooperation as well as further strengthen relations and cooperation between the two countries. The two leaders will also witness the signing of a Memorandum of Understanding (MOU) between the Malaysian Investment Development Authority (MIDA) and the Brunei Investment Agency (BIA).
Ianya bertunjangkan kepada sejarah kesultanan, kebudayaan dan susul galur sejarah yang panjang. Keakraban ini telah diperlihatkan lagi dengan lawatan khas Paduka Seri Sultan dan Yang di-Pertuan Negara Brunei Darussalam ke Malaysia pada 28 November 2022 yang lalu.
The meeting will be followed by a royal banquet hosted by the Sultan of Brunei. This will be Datuk Seri Anwar's second official visit abroad since being appointed as Prime Minister. Earlier, Datuk Seri Zamri said that the Islamophobic act that occurred in Stockholm, Sweden, is among the issues to be discussed during the Prime Minister's official visit to Brunei. The Foreign Minister, who will be accompanying Datuk Seri Anwar during the official visit, added that he would discuss the issue with his counterpart, Eriwan Muhammad Yusof. Datuk Seri Zamri pointed out that Malaysia is a country that promotes peace as well as respect between various races and religions among the people. Therefore, such actions by extremists should not be tolerated, especially in any country that practices democracy. The minister said this in response to the Islamophobic act by Danish far-right party Stramko's leader, Rasmus Paludan, who was permitted to burn the Quran outside the Turkish embassy in Stockholm on Saturday, causing the Muslim world to erupt in anger due to the incident. Datuk Seri Anwar had said that Malaysia condemned in the strongest terms the Islamophobic act and urged the Swedish government to take urgent measures against the vile act, as well as ensuring drastic steps in the future to address the alarming rise of Islamophobia in the country. Meanwhile, condemnations continued to pour in from across the Arab and Islamic worlds over the burning of Quran by a Swedish-Danish right-wing extremist in Stockholm. In Turkey, outrage over the burning produced a second day of protests, where hundreds of people gathered outside the Swedish consulate in Istanbul and Ankara and burned a photo of Rasmus Paludan, the anti-Islam activist who burned the Quran under the protection of police. Turkish Foreign Ministry in a statement also condemned the burning, describing it as a vile attack. And in response to Sweden's permission for the incident, Ankara has cancelled Swedish Defence Minister Pell Johnson's upcoming visit to Turkey, which is aimed at helping to remove Ankara's objections to Sweden joining the NATO military alliance along with Finland. In condemning Swedish authorities for allowing the far-right politician to burn the Quran, Saudi Arabia in a statement also affirmed the kingdom's firm position in rejecting hatred and extremism. Decrying the Quran burning as a disgraceful act, Egypt in the meantime warned that the act could provoke the feelings of hundreds of millions of Muslims around the world. Also denouncing in the strongest terms Sweden's permission to burn the Quran outside the Turkish embassy in Stockholm was Qatar and the United Arab Emirates, who renewed its call to renounce hate speech and violence. The UAE also underscored the need to respect religious symbols as well as to avoid inciting hatred by insulting religions. Oman, meanwhile, underlined the need for international efforts to consolidate the values of tolerance and coexistence and criminalize all acts that promote the ideology of hatred. Also joining the chorus of condemnations were Indonesia, Kuwait, Iran, Jordan, Morocco, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, Azerbaijan, and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, who stressed the need to spread the culture of peace and acceptance of others. Gunman in Lunar New Year massacre found dead. This and more when Nightline returns. Onto the foreign front. In the US, the hunt for a gunman who killed 10 people at a ballroom dance club during Lunar New Year celebrations ended on Sunday when authorities found him dead on a self-inflicted gunshot wound inside the van in which he fled after a second shooting was thwarted. Los Angeles County Sheriff Robert Luna identified the suspect as 72-year-old Hu Can Tran, who turned a handgun on himself on Sunday as police approached a white van he was driving in Torrance, about 34 kilometers from the site of the shooting at the Star Ballroom Dance Studio in Monterey Park. It was believed that the gunman also tried to carry out another shooting at a separate club just minutes after the first one on Saturday night, but two bystanders managed to wrestle the weapon off him before any shots could be fired as he fled the scene. Officials did not identify any of the victims, but the 5 men and 5 women appeared to be in their 50s, 60s and beyond. Authorities are still investigating the motive. Over in Thailand, 2 children were among 11 people burned to death in a passenger van crash in central Nakhon Ratchasima province. Authorities said the incident occurred when the van carrying 12 people veered off the highway before ramming into a metal railing and crashing into a ditch. The van traveling from northeastern Amnat Charon province to Bangkok then went up in flames and exploded seconds after. It was reported that the one man had been able to climb out a window, but other passengers were trapped and died in the blaze. An investigation into the cause of the accident has been launched. New Zealand's incoming Prime Minister Chris Hipkins on Monday said that his government would be making haste on reprioritising and looking at whether current policies need to be scaled down. Hipkins stated that the government would be refocusing on bread and butter issues for New Zealand, including inflation, and would look at reining in other policies without elaborating. However, he has a tough road ahead, with Labour trailing the opposition in opinion polls, and the country is expected to fall into recession in the next quarter before a general election on October 14th. Hipkins is expected to be sworn in as Prime Minister on Wednesday after Ardern officially resigns. Previously, Labour Labour has pursued a number of policies that have been unpopular or seen as expensive by many voters, including the proposed merging of state-owned radio and television stations and an overhaul of ownership of the country's water infrastructure. Sports tennis, the 2023 Australian Open. Andrei Rublev claimed a spot in the quarterfinals for the second time in his career after a hard-fought win over ninth-seeded Holger Rune on Monday. Rublev started the game on the front foot, winning the first set 6-3. Rune, however, bounced back and took the second set 6-3. Rublev regained the advantage with a 6-3 third-set victory, just for Rune to again drew level, claiming the fourth set 6-4. The decider proved to be a tight battle before Rublev emerged victorious, clinching a 7-6 win and a place in the last 8. The 25-year-old will face Novak Djokovic in the quarterfinals on Wednesday. Having never lost at Melbourne Park since the fourth round in 2018, the 35-year-old was in no mood to give Alex de Minaur a sniff of a chance on Rod Laver Arena as he raced out of the blocks and dominated his opponent with blistering shots on both wings. The former world number 1 steamrolled local hope de Minaur 6-2, 6-1, 6-2 to stay on course for a 10th title at the Grand Slam. And in the women's category, former top 20 player Donna Vekic of Croatia moved into the second Grand Slam quarterfinal of her career with a 3-set triumph over Czech teen Linda Fruhvirtova after 2 hours and 7 minutes of play on Monday. At 17 years and 273 days old, Fruhvirtova was attempting to become the youngest Australian Open quarterfinalist in 25 years, since eventual champion Martina Hingis and Venus Williams both made the Elite Eight in 1998. However, it was Vekic who reeled off the last 3 games of the match to claim a 6-2, 1-6, 6-3 win and advance to a major quarterfinal for the first time since the 2019 US Open. Vekic is on her own 7-match winning streak, having garnered 3 victories at United Cup before the Australian Open. Joining her was Karolina Pliskova. The Czech extended her head-to-head dominance over Zhang Shuai to advance to her 11th career Grand Slam quarterfinal on Monday. Her 6-love, 6-4 win in just 55 minutes improved her career record against Zhang to 8-0 and put her into the final 8 of the Australian Open for the 4th time. Pliskova faces Magdalena of Poland next. Earlier, Aryna Sabalenka sealed a spot in the quarterfinal after a 7-5, 6-2 win over Tokyo 2020 Olympic gold medalist Belinda Bencic. Sabalenka continues her impressive record of not dropping a set in the 8 matches she has played this year. The 5th seed will play Donna Vekic in the last 8. After this breather, 7 arrested over 2.1 million ringgit drugs. Welcome back. Police nabbed 7 men and seized over 840 kilograms of ganja worth 2.1 million ringgit in a series of raids in Pulau Pinang and Perak on Thursday. Pulau Pinang Police Chief Datuk Muhammad Shuhaili Muhammad Zain said the special operation was carried out together with a team from the Bukit Aman Narcotics Criminal Investigation Department. The first arrest was made at 6:45 a.m. involving 3 men who were inside a car at the Baganajam Toll Plaza in Butterworth on Thursday. This led to the seizure of more than 479 kilograms of ganja worth 1.1 million ringgit hidden in a car parked at the Bukit Jambul parking lot about 25 minutes later. Police also stopped another car at the Changkat Jering Toll Plaza in Perak at 7:44 a.m. and arrested 3 other men. They also raided an area in Persiaran Masuri, Bayan Baru at 2 p.m. and found 10 plastic sacks containing 361 kilograms of ganja in a vehicle parked at the location. Another man was also detained in a subsequent raid at a flat unit in Air Hitam at 3:20 p.m. on the same day.
Kita telah berjaya merampas hampir 823 ketulan mampat kering berbalut kertas warna perang seperti mana yang tuan-tuan dapat lihat dengan anggaran nilai 2.1 juta. So hasil risikan mendedahkan mereka ini telah terlibat sejak awal tahun 2022.
Based on preliminary investigations, it was believed the drugs of various grades were brought in from neighboring countries for the local market. The amount of ganja can cater to over 1.8 million drug users. Authorities also seized 3 vehicles and a motorcycle, with all of them amounting to 51,500 ringgit. The 7 suspects, including a civil servant, engineer, computer technician and online trader aged between 24 and 29, have been remanded for a week to facilitate investigations under the Dangerous Drugs Act. At the same press conference, Datuk Muhammad Shuhaili revealed that police arrested 3 men, including a foreigner, and confiscated various types of firecrackers worth 408,943 ringgit, as well as drugs in a separate case last week. The state police chief said that acting on a tip-off, authorities stopped a van with 3 men inside at about 11 p.m. in Batu Maung last Thursday. During checks on the vehicle, police found a packet containing 6.4 grams of ketamine and 18 Aramin pills, all valued at 2,700 ringgit, as well as 81 boxes containing 527 different types of firecrackers. Following the arrest, police raided another premises also in Batu Maung a few hours later and found 44 sacks containing 333 boxes of various types of firecrackers. All 860 boxes of firecrackers were believed to have been smuggled from a neighboring country and meant for distribution in the local market for the Chinese New Year celebration. The 3 suspects, aged between 26 and 45, have been remanded for investigation under the Dangerous Drugs Act and the Explosives Act. But before we leave, let's take a look at a huge 165-feet-long lion puppet making its appearance at a Chinese New Year celebration in Thailand. The massive gold and red marionette was controlled by at least a dozen of men as it was paraded across the plaza. With that, I'm Muhammad Ahmad Hamdan. Thank you for watching and stay safe, Malaysia.